Welcome to Manuscript Papua. In today's video, we'll explore Indonesia's strategic move to join BRICS and its ambitious maritime development vision that could strengthen Indonesia's position on the global stage.
I really want to make Indonesia becoming stronger. That's why I published my book Defending Indonesia, which is I describe Indonesia maritime power in the future. What should it like, like building 12 submarine, which is ASBN. We have to build like maybe 4 carrier. That is my dream to rekindle Indonesia maritime power. I've talked to you a little bit details about the military equipment because my background.
According to Professor Connie Rahakundini Bakri, Indonesia's defense development direction is deeply rooted in historical reflection and the importance of national self-reliance. She emphasizes that Indonesia once held remarkable maritime power, from the era of Srivijaya to Majapahit, which serves as a strong inspiration for the future. However, over time, various historical challenges have required Indonesia to gradually and sustainably rebuild its strategic capabilities. These efforts are now embodied in a grand vision to establish a strong, modern national defense supported by a domestic industry. Professor Connie shares her visionary idea. I envision a future where Indonesia is capable of producing its own submarines, even aircraft carriers, as symbols of our nation's readiness and independence in maintaining regional stability. Indonesia's recent decision to join BRICS represents a tangible step in this global transformation, opening opportunities for strategic collaboration, technology transfer, and strengthening Indonesia's role in the international order. Thank you for watching Manuscript Papua. Can Indonesia develop its own aircraft carrier, considering that so far there hasn't been a major invention from the people of Indonesia? This challenge is an important part of the journey toward a more independent and advanced nation.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the podcast. We are joined today by Connie Rahakundini Bakri, who is a professor of international relations in St. Petersburg. And your main focus though is on, well, you are Indonesian, so you're
Indonesians becoming professor at St. Petersburg State University, and it's not only that I became the ambassador of science and education of St. Petersburg State University. So if you ask me why I end up here and what did I teach at the SPPGU, actually I teach the Russia relations and more toward politics actually. And why I end up in St. Petersburg State University, maybe because of my background. I'm actually very security matters person. That's why I graduated from APC and FLY, for example, and then from Chevening. And my concentration is only about security.
Yeah, because, well, you're not an ordinary academic like me. You're a funny Bakri. You had a key role in shaping the Indonesian defense sector. So, of course, as we know, Indonesia is becoming a very, becoming, it's always been, but becoming increasingly important. Not just because of the huge population with over 280 million people, but it's also a key maritime power. So how do you see this, I guess, well, how can you say something about your background first, because this is quite fascinating.
Okay, my background, again, I tell you, I'm coming from Europe, so Indonesia, and I do my PhD in Israel, combined with in Tel Aviv, but not on Tel Aviv University, but the advisor to the Prime Minister of Israel. So INSS. So it's very interesting because Indonesia and Israel doesn't have diplomatic relations. Therefore, I have to study in Delhi University, England. Then the Web of Lords and my dean is one of the admiral, which is very close to Queen Elizabeth at that time, arranged my research in Israel. And based my research is talking about how one country could be very powerful like Israel, while is very that country is very tiny, while Indonesia, which is 1,000 times bigger, in my opinion, the military capability is very low. But back to 2009. And this is bring your question just now. Yes, Indonesia maritime power is not only, when you have to talk about how we have to build maritime power, it's because we used to build very great maritime power, and Srivijaya Empire is a 1,000 years maritime empire. And then we have Majapahit Empire, which is had 100 years something. So we used to have that big empire and even system and even the capability and technology to create. But then come the colonial era. and destroyed by this colonial era, we go back to, to nothing, if I can say that. So therefore, when I study in Indonesia, in University of Indonesia, I really want to make Indonesia uh, becoming stronger. That's why I published my book Defending Indonesia, which is describe Indonesia maritime power in the future. What should it like, like building 12 submarine, which is ASBN. We have to build like maybe port carrier. That is my dream to rekindle Indonesia maritime power. Yeah, that's the background actually.
Well, you say that Indonesia went back to nothing, so because of the colonial era. Now, if you want to look at one country that wants to overcome the colonial era and restore some, the rightful place of Asia, if you will, it's really China is at the front. But when the Chinese announced their Silk Road maritime route, Xi Jinping, he didn't do it in Beijing. He went to the parliament in Indonesia back in 2013. So this doesn't seem like an accident. If you want to have control of this sea lanes, not control necessarily, but or establish a new order, post-hegemonic one, then you do need Indonesia there, don't you?
Of course, because we control the very important pillar of communications in the Southeast Asia. If you see the Indonesia map today, then you can see how Malacca power is very huge because it's connecting the world with all Asia countries, including feeding everything to China through through the west, out through the west to Malacca and then going to La Perus. That's why South China Sea becomes so exotic. Is not only because of the South China Sea and China claim over thousands or what you call that, 1,000 something. No. It's about cellular communications because my background. I always believe that as a realist, I always believe that the peace between nations could be happening with three reasons. One, resource. Second one, way of resource, which is maritime or airspace, and you can talk airspace as well. The third one is religion. Indonesia is very sensitive because of that. Because if you know Indonesia, of course you've been to Indonesia. We are very rich in the region as well, not only resource. So the conflict could be anything happen. Therefore, if I can go forward from the maritime empire, go to Sukarno era. Actually, Sukarno is very powerful. That time, Sukarno tried to balance the world, creating the non-alignment movement. In the very famous speech, his speech in United Nations, he built a very strong military capability. That time, Indonesia known as the very strong military in the southern hemisphere. So if you go to study, actually when we get back Papua to us, we don't have to have a war with US because that time cannot detail to everyone. Wow, for fighting Indonesia is like fighting the biggest military power in the southern hemisphere. So again, why your question why China go to Jakarta is because the importance of our share of communications, that we are on the full crew of Asia Pacific because part of us in the Pacific, part of another part is in Indian Ocean. So maybe therefore China think the BRI and all the concept has to go to Indonesia.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the non-aligned because that's quite key to Indonesian security. We used to have more appreciation for that in Europe, by the way, that being a neutral, non-aligned power, it took you out of the security competition. And this is a source of security. So be powerful, but avoid being pulled into block systems. How do you see the membership of Indonesia in BRICS? Because you joined earlier this year. And of course, BRICS it's not an alliance. It's not allied against anyone. I mean, I always make the point. If you think India and China are going to ally up to invade America, that's like in a sense. So it's seeking security with other members, not against non-members. But how do you see the role of Indonesia now entering BRICS? If you connected to this non-aligned movements?
It's actually, if connected to the non-alignment movement, I'm the one who actually push and keep pushing my foreign affairs minister. That time is not this one, because Jokowi in power for 10 years. So in that 10 years, he seems confused to decide whether we are on BRICS or not. The reason is our Minister of Finance is very close to the United States, and our Foreign Affairs Minister at that time, a lady, she's maybe very hesitate, to one day he could talk to me because Connie is dangerous. We are joining BRICS because our more of our you know, as economics is maybe related to US dollar. But glad on the Prabowo presidency today on January 25th, we joined BRICS. We are become the first Southeast Asian nations who signed the BRICS. So I think I'm very happy with BRICS. Why? The question is why I keep pushing BRICS and why I am so happy that Indonesia joining BRICS. Because I think BRICS is the real, a real explanations or concrete form of non-alignment movement. Because we talk about non-alignment since 1960, but it's keep on the paper, or maybe balancing power, but it's very too, or maybe sometimes too soft, I may call it. But when BRICS is created and Indonesia joining BRICS, I think that's the most very important things. Maybe because one of the reason I'm in the community of the BRICS North Alignment countries scholars. So it does Sorbonne people, even from England, from Brazil, everywhere. I think it's about 55 countries who love non-alignment movement, who still believe on non-alignment movement. So they are very happy actually when they are talking about BRICS and the form of a new non-alignment. We call it neo non-alignment.
Yes. No, I always make the point. It's an important distinction that if you consider BRICS anti-hegemonic, it's very different, for example, than anti-American, because anti-hegemonic just seems suggests you want multipolarity, you don't want subordination to one central power. Anti-American also going against them, but that's that doesn't really.
I don't really believe in that as well. I mean, like everybody hating Trumps. Okay, for example, I don't know for the first time that Trump running to the presidency this time, I really into him. In my country, people ask me like, why you are what to Russia? I mean, Putin, which is the framing is very that time, and then not is Trump, and it's like antithesis between Trump and Putin. I said no. This man, whatever people call him crazy, he succeeded making Abraham Accord, and I salute him for that. Whether it's word or not, Abraham Accord is Abraham Accord. Second thing is, I believe that time he will meet President Putin and talk to President Putin, and it happens in the ASEAN summit. So I'm so happy with Trump, and I don't think we have to hate Americans because of that. But yeah, I agree with you. But the world cannot be run by one unipolar system. So the coming of BRICS is very good to actually balancing the belief that some people say that the world is running by one single power.
But well, as you say, you are a professor at the State University of St. Petersburg, and I find it interesting also that within, of course, there's many BRICS member, but the relationship between Russia and Indonesia, many people wouldn't necessarily put those two together. But in June, the president of Indonesia and Russia signed this strategic partnership agreements. And also your president, he said that Russia was a key strategic partner in the Asia Pacific. What is the relationship though between the Russians and the Indonesians?
I told you before, during Sukarno era, when he brings the most powerful military capability or power in the Southern Pacific, we build it with Russia. The one who gave us all the fighter jets, all the submarines, all the warship, and everything is Russia.
It's primarily military.
Yes, very military, very military. That's why we become very strong. So when President Prabowo, actually the first strategic partnership is not during Prabowo. Before, even during the president and the sixth president, SB, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, we already signed because I involved in that signing, so I remember. But it doesn't work, it's only end up on paper. So I'm so happy that Prabowo, they kind of these relations and doing to something more concrete. For example, maybe we are going to deepening our relations on the nuclear energy things. it's going to be very happening soon. Maybe the medium size reactor and only for energy. I have to remind you that Indonesia, why sometimes I think make a big mistake of signing the entities, is because during Sukarno we have two power plants, which is first time is built by United States, but in the middle of it, not United States, stop this the program, and then we get the help from the Russia. So we have the two strategic what do you call it, multi-purpose reactor, one in Bandung, one in Yogyakarta, and therefore today we face the problem of if we make it stronger, probably people think we are going to make the multi-purpose reactor one. So that's why I have to emphasize to my Indonesian people that we only make the energy power plant, not the multi-purpose. Because if this is not created, it's very hard for us to get the uranium. Yeah, it's very hard to, how the International Atomic Energy Agency controlling everything about the uranium. So it's very hard. But the second thing is, we have to make the self-reliance and think about something if things going not right or not as we wish. Therefore, I think Indonesia is very rich on the thorium. So that's why I'm into thorium development, which is that's why I described. Maybe we have to go to the southern South reactor and this and that, but not only uranium. Move to something better.
Yeah, the Chinese are making huge
Chinese use the thorium, so Chinese and India.
Yeah,
India.
Well, my last question was about the pressures on Indonesia, because a lot of countries would like to be non-aligned. In Europe, we've been all stripped of neutral countries. India, have been under pressure by the United States to join their team. It backfired, of course, but I lived in Australia in 14 years. Every prime minister said the same thing. We don't have to choose between China and America. But at the end,
They signed AUKUS.
yes,
And the Quad.
they did choose.
They choose.
So I guess in Ukraine, they also had this ambition. They tried to position themselves between the West and Russia.
No. Ukraine is per.
No, but they were regime changed in 2014. Not under Yanukovych. He did want to leave both ways. But NATO said,
Zelensky like changed that, yeah.
but they said you can't. They say there's civilizational choice. You belong to the civilized liberal democracies or with the evil Russians. And, they made their own choice and they were regime changed. But my point is, do you see the pressures on Indonesia? Because it is quite an important country in Southeast Asia.
Of course, the pressure, of course. That's why, I always believe that the country could be stronger only by two things. Either the economic, we are going to influence the military, or you strengthen the military, so it's going to influence your economic. So, and that's, I think, the concept of Sukarno as well. That's why he make it like Indonesia as as the biggest power on the military of the Southern Hemisphere. Is something, So today, I think the challenge is that Indonesia has to decide correctly, but still play nicely about the non-alignment. So if you say Indonesia span between Aceh to Papua, it's like 11 hours flight. It's like from here to Vladivostok. So what I mean is, because Indonesia is very huge and we are on the fulcrum of the Indo-Pacific, we have to divide our defense system to four divisions. So the southern, the western and the eastern one, the western and the southern one should be with the country like Russia, like China, like everything, because the control also of Malacca Strait. But the other part, the eastern part and the northern part, of course, we have to put together with United States, with the West and everything. Why? Because we challenge all this, all this problem when we have problem during Suharto era. All our fighters cannot fly. Our military stuff that from western part it's been blocked and it's been cannot move everywhere. Even I think I remember one of the fighter jet is like parking for RMO for maintenance IMRO maintenance repair and overhaul in UK if I'm not mistaken. Then cannot fly back to my country because they said no, you cannot have this one anymore. So this kind of thing is of course hurt us as a nation. So therefore, for the future, I hope that non-alignment things will be led again by Indonesia and Brazil and some of course India and so on and so forth. But to strengthen the military is the most important one, but has to be very strategic, because we have to be because maybe Jian or even the carrier from China go, and then the other part then together we are with US, because mostly now our fighter jets is coming from America, the F-16 and so on and so forth. Yeah, so I'm sorry if I've talked to you a little bit details about the military equipment, because my background is actually I'm a professor at the Navy Command College, Air Force Command College, and the Army Command College. So my background is quite. So if I'm talking about security, I more go to the military things. Yeah.
No, well, Indonesia is seeking military strength, and this is your background. So it's very appropriate.
Manuskrip Papua